You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. You are watching or listening the Variety Show. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and we are so blessed to have you here with us today, whether you're watching us on the live or on the replay. We are grateful to have you here. We have an incredible show with another wonderful, amazing guest. Her name is Linda Hughes. Let's bring her on. She's joining us from Oklahoma. Hi, Linda.
Hello. Good to see you.
Hi, so nice to see you. Thank you so much. So I said to you backstage that I don't think we've ever interviewed anyone from Oklahoma, and you shared a little bit about how it was kind of a new experience for you. So would you like to just give our audience a brief snippet about that?
Yeah, sure. I'm originally from Michigan. Then my husband and I lived in Georgia for 30 years, which we loved, but our children were here in Oklahoma. So we decided to move here to be closer to our children. The pandemic hit. We didn't see them for 15 months, and here we are. We've seen them this summer. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And, this is the Variety Show. And part of the reason I wanted you to share that is because in life, there are changes, and sometimes variety is the spice of life, so to speak. So you've had a new adventure while you're there, and wherever your journey takes you, and maybe there, maybe somewhere else. But I want people to keep an open mind when they think about everything that's going on. And I had asked you backstage what you wanted the audience to take away from our show today. So I'd love to spotlight you and just have you share something about that.
Sure, yes. And I love being on a variety show because my life has had so much variety. I am a baby boomer, and there are a lot of us that I feel get left out in some ways. And as a writer, I decided in the past few years to focus my writing on baby boomers, later Gen Xers. I've found a niche in working with those of us who have been around for a while. And our lives do have a lot of variety. There's been a lot going on for a long time. And so I think sharing stories that I've gathered over the years and being able to write them into fiction is so much fun and so interesting, especially because for the first 20 years of my career life, I had a job where I traveled the world. I met the most incredible people. I had some experiences that today I can't even imagine happened, climbing the Great Pyramid and being lost in the Far East and just all kinds of things. And so, in fact, I was thinking the other day about the time that during the Cold War, I took a boat ride up the Black Sea so I could sneak into Russia because I'd never done that. I mean, who does that? And so I've gathered all of my own stories of so many wonderful people that I've met along the way from around the world, plus my friends and family and those of us who are not spring chickens anymore. And I've put all of that together in some stories. And especially during the pandemic, I started a series called Shades of Hope, and looking at how we've survived lots of things in our lives. Wonderful things have happened, terrible things have happened. We survived, and giving hope to others that they can make it through tough times, especially like this last year and a half, they can make it through tough times as well. And one of the main things about that is we all have to pull together. That's very obvious. So that's what I'm up to.
Great work, Linda. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I always love to try to inspire other people who are watching, and especially during this time when people are able to hopefully find something new in their lives, maybe follow their passion, their inner child, if you will. And so when it comes to writing and it comes to being published and to be the #1 bestseller and all the awards that you've won. Someone could be watching and think, oh, it's daunting. I thought about writing, and then I just took what I wrote and I put it underneath the bed. I put it on a shelf. So if you could just share some insights to help people find their themselves through writing. Sometimes people find themselves through song or through poem, but through writing, what would you say to somebody to help them get started or help them move along the process?
Well, first of all, I used to help a lot of people write their memoirs, and in fact, have done hundreds of those. And it was so much fun, and I learned so much from every story that I heard. And so I think if someone wants to start writing, they've thought about it, writing their own story, start with journaling, start with a diary, start with whatever makes you comfortable, and tell your own story. And when you do that, I've never worked with anybody writing their memoir when they didn't say, in the end, it changed their life. It changed their perspective. In fact, one person described it this way. She said she'd taken all the battles that she ever had in her life. She wrote them down on a piece of paper, and it was like wadding up that piece of paper and throwing it away, and she was done with it. It was over. And it's very cathartic. It's very freeing to get that story out there. And so that's a great way to start. And then some people take their personal stories and they turn them into fiction, especially if they're worried about naming names and all that kind of thing. And so they'll take what happened to them and change it just enough that it still gets a message across and it says what you want to say, and it shows others that you lived through whatever this was and they can too, which is always the most important part. And so you can either write it as nonfiction or you can write it as fiction, but start with your own story because that's what you know best. That's what's inside of you. Get that outside of you, and that'll help you not only tell a story, but practice writing. And so it's a great way to begin. And I actually started writing many, many years ago, but along the way have taken my own experiences and written them into lots of my fiction, lots of my books. And so there's so many ways we can use that. That's a good start.
Thank you, Linda. And I want our audience to know that you have written and published 20 books. Is that correct?
That's correct. And that's actually, in today's publishing world, that's not necessarily a lot. It's about average, I would say. But 20 books, some are nonfiction. Most are fiction, and that's where my heart is. That's what I love to do, because you can just go wild. you can just make things up and do anything that you want to do. So that is so much fun. And I love to write characters that are a little bit naughty or a little bit astray, and they have to figure things out. I love it when they do some of the stupid things that I've done in my own life. I'll tell you what, that guy was great for putting into stories as the bad guy. And so that whole thing of making things up and making my characters make mistakes, and they have to learn better and they have to grow throughout the story. That's the fun of it all.
Yes, that does sound like a lot of fun. And by the way, I think 20 books is quite an accomplishment, because I only have one book that I published, and to have 20, yeah, that is something else. So how much of your time, of your day, do you spend writing?
Well, it's kind of a joke at our house, and the joke is I prefer living in my fantasy world to the real world, especially right now, the way things are. And that's pretty much true. I love escaping into my fantasy world. So during the day, because I had a career that was very scheduled for a long time, as most people do, who are in any kind of business or work in any kind of group of people, you have to be scheduled. You have to know what you're doing. And I do the same thing with my writing. I get up in the morning, I walk my dogs, I go to a live chat app of other writers, find out what they're doing, which is fantastic. And then I sit down and I start writing, and I have a schedule. I make myself get up every 50 minutes and move around, because it is true that as you get a little older, you have to move your body around. And so I have a clock right there. I pay very close attention. I get up, I take short breaks, I come right back, I take a lunch break, and I work until about mid-afternoon, and then I can do personal things, run errands, make calls, do anything else that needs to get done. But I truly escape into my work, which is, and for me, it's the only way I can get it done. I've heard some writers say, well, they write when the mood hits them. That's great if that works for somebody. That doesn't work for me, because I'm always in the mood to be outdoors, take a walk, eat, do things that I can't be doing all day long. And so sitting down and working is just a joy for me. And it brings order to my life that I need to stay healthy and happy.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think that's really important. People laugh at me. I have it here all the time with me. I've got my clipboard. I'm very scheduled. Everything's written down, because how do you get things done if you don't have some type of schedule? So I think it's important to schedule in time to write. I know I'm writing my second and third book at the moment, and I haven't put any time in the last 2 weeks. And so guess what's accomplished? Nothing. Zero on that area, right?
That's how it happens.
We do have a comment, let's see, from Joe Loney. Hi, Joe, joining us from the UK. Nice to have you with us today. Thank you.
Great.
Wonderful. So, Linda, I want to talk a little bit about all of the awards that you have earned, you've won. It's quite extensive. How does this happen as an author? How do you get acknowledged and recognized for your work?
Oh, well, my former publisher, and I will say I was with a publisher, and they were great for a long time, but I did leave a publisher, for anybody who's interested in writing, and became an independent author just recently, within the last year. But my publisher arranged a lot of that. He would submit my work to something, and then it would get picked up and I'd get an award. Some of my very first awards came a long time ago, when I was first writing, about 20 years ago, while I still had another job. And so those came from my agent that I had at the time. And that was delightful. But I will say to anybody that wants to write, in the very beginning, I was in Los Angeles once at a book expo. Miramax sent some scouts out to look at books. They looked at my book, they liked it, they sent a car, I went to the studio, I met with people, and I thought, wow, it was one of my first books. And I thought, oh, this writing thing is so easy. You just write a book, you put it out there, a studio contacts you, and they want to make a movie. Well, the long story short is the movie didn't happen. They were delightful to me, but they passed it to someone else, who passed it to someone else, and the movie didn't happen, although there were some very interested people along the way. So what that taught me is, and I got some awards, by the way, along the way because of that same book, but including a screenwriter's award, which was wonderful. But what that taught me is it isn't as easy as it might seem. It takes work, and you just simply have to be persistent. You absolutely cannot give up. It's been 20 years and I haven't given up. And along the way, no movies yet. I'm still waiting. And like every author, I cast my books for movies, but that's it.
That's fascinating. So you are interested in having a movie made of one or all of your books?
Sure, let's do it.
So something else I want to talk about when we come back from the break is, you mentioned having a publisher, and I think there are a lot of people who are on the fence and they don't know, should I self-publish? Should I get a publisher? So if we could dive into that a little bit when we come back, I think that would be really helpful for people. How does that sound?
Sounds great. We shall.
Okay, fantastic. All right, folks, stay with us. We're going to take a break and hear from some of our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with the lovely Linda Hughes.
Hey everybody, my name is Ralph Graves Jr. I'm the host of the Ralph Graves Jr. Show, and I want to invite you to pick up my book, Unstoppable. I wrote a book called Unstoppable. It's 7 universal laws that will transform how you pursue and achieve success. The one thing that my 20 years of law enforcement has taught me is that no matter who you are, we are all governed by universal laws, like gravity. But in this book, we're going to talk about laws like the law of forgiveness, laws like the law of control, the law of intelligent practice, the law of expectancy. I was able to see how those, no matter what their background was, those who identified and treated these laws with respect, they were able to go on and lead successful lives. So pick up this book, and you can go ahead and pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, RalphGravesJr.com, where anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you.
There are 7.7 billion people on Earth today. 40% of these people are under the age of 25. Young adults are the most fertile mission field in the world today. In Scripture, we see Jesus pouring his life into 12 young adults who he equipped to change the world and all of history. Like Jesus, we believe that the best approach to reach the world with the gospel is to invest in young, emerging leaders and equip them to build disciple-making movements. Concentric is the notion of surrounding and sharing a common center. Our center is the model and strategy of Jesus for both leadership development and ministry formation. As a global alliance, we provide equipping in biblical leadership based on Jesus' example in the New Testament. Jesus modeled for us how to make disciples that reproduce. Focusing on leadership development is key to creating movements that spread the gospel and Jesus' disciple-making strategy to young leaders around the globe. Our Ministry Alliance partners are actively equipping leaders and building movements of multiplication that reproduce the life of Christ. Join us today to equip young leaders with Jesus' strategy that will change cities and nations.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAP partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAP partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
Academy Sedan and Limo is a full-service transportation company serving the Philadelphia metropolitan area with full knowledge of the New York City, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. areas. We pride ourselves on being the most dependable, conscientious company in the industry. Our always on-time service and dependable pricing make us the company to call for any event or occasion. Our vehicles can accommodate any size party for any occasion. Our vehicles range from four-door sedans to SUVs to minivans to limo buses to full-size tour buses and can accommodate groups of 2 to 100. We offer airport shuttle service or over-the-road service without limitation regarding mileage or time, and no drive is too long or too far. So if you find yourself in need of transportation of any type with any vehicle, give us a call at 610-842-4564 and let us show you what a real transportation company can do for you.
Use code ACADEMY2020 to receive 20% off your first 3 rides, including parking and tolls.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. You are watching or listening to The Variety Show. And my guest today is the lovely Linda Hughes, joining us from Oklahoma. Linda has written and published 20 books, and she loves what she does. She has her own niche, which is really focusing on the, how shall I say this, people with a lot of experience and wisdom in life. So it's a pleasure to have you here. We talked about before the break how some people are really interested in finding out, should they work with a publisher, should they self-publish, should they get a coach maybe to help them with this? And you've had all this experience. So what would you share with our audience?
Yes, and I think I've tried all of those things. And so here's what happened in my situation, and it might be a good example for others. And that is, I had an agent, I was with a publisher, and actually loved my agent, loved my publisher. My agent then retired, he was gone. And my publisher decided in the past couple of years that he wanted to become, rather than a traditional publisher where you turn in a book to a publisher and they say, yes, I like this, and they will publish it. And sometimes people get an advance, which is great, and sometimes you don't, but you don't pay them any money. That's for sure, in what's called traditional publishing. That was what I had with my publisher, but in the past couple of years, he decided to become a hybrid publisher, which is a publisher that you pay to put your book out there for you. And so, and he wasn't going to charge me because I'd been with him for a long time, but that was his new business plan, which is working very well for him because they're good at what they do. And so they went in that direction. But because today, the way the whole system works, if you get a book out there, whether you have a traditional publisher, a hybrid publisher, or if you have self-published, you end up doing most of the marketing yourself, unless you're really big time, big time. And so because I was going to be doing the marketing myself anyway, I decided to leave my publisher. It was very amicable, and I became self-published. For someone who's brand new to writing, knows nothing about it, knows nothing about marketing, doesn't know how to get their books out there, I would recommend that you get help. You hire a coach, and there's some wonderful ones out there. Be careful. Make sure you've got somebody who has really helped authors who have made it. So do your research, but find a coach or go for an agent. You write what they call query letters to agents, and you can find them online, lots of places. And so if you get an agent, they will help you find a publisher if that's what you want. Now, if you're going to self-publish, you don't need an agent, of course, because you're going to do everything yourself. If you decide you want to go the route that you're good at doing research, you learn pretty quickly, your learning curve is not that tough, then you can go to Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP. And that's actually, there are other places, but it's an Amazon company. And that's really the best place to start. And they have lots of tutorials, lots of ways to learn how to self-publish. And then you need to learn how to market. And that's the part that's hard, because getting your book out there doesn't mean anything. People have to know it's there. Readers have to know it's there. And so marketing is the key. And there are also lots of tutorials on KDP about that. That's a place to start, but that's going to lead you in lots of other directions. And that's one thing that a coach, a good coach, can help you with. So that's what I'd recommend that someone do at this point in time. And it's interesting because things work differently, it seems, with different genres. But right now, if you were to go into Amazon and look at what's selling the best, and you can go to Barnes & Noble, you can go to lots of different websites, what's selling best on those websites, and then you do your research and you dig in to those books, the statistics tell us that today, the majority of books that are best sellers in different genres, some more so than others, are independently published books. That's a huge change in the past few years. So that's the direction that a lot of authors are going these days, including me.
Wow, Linda, that was great information. I love how you laid that all out. That was because somebody like me went through the process, I didn't even realize that that's what the whole thing was that I went through. So thank you for making that so clear. Something that I wanted to just go back on, because I think you really hit the nail on the head with this, is about the marketing piece. I worked with a coach who was amazing. His name is Red O'Laughlin. And so he helped me through the process and took a lot of those steps off the plate for me, which was nice. When it came to the marketing piece, you're so excited you finish it, right? It's finished. Yay. You've got the cover, you've got the testimonials, you've got everything. And now you just need people to buy it. And how do you create that interest? And one thing I found was that there are a number of ways that you can pay people for reviews, or you can pay people to promote it. And I chose not to go in that direction. So it is interesting. And I think it also makes a difference which categories on Amazon or the KDP that you select to have your book put into.
Right. And as for paid reviews, I suppose it works sometimes. But if the same companies have paid reviewers that are putting things up on Amazon, for example, their bots, their robots, their algorithms eventually pick up on that, and they might kick you out, which of course you don't want. And so there's some ways to get organic reviews. Everybody wants to start with friends and family.
Uncle Bill said this.
Say nice things, but you can do things like set up a Facebook page or an Instagram or Twitter or TikTok. I mean, there's so many things you can do that you can invite readers, tell them a little bit about your book, and invite them with what we call a reader magnet. And you probably did this. And a reader magnet is you give them a little piece of the story for free, a little bit of it, or I even did a giveaway recently. One of my books is called Lilac Island. It's about Mackinac Island, beautiful place in Michigan. And that's where it's set. And so I bought some gifts that said Island Girl. And they weren't expensive gifts at all, but I put that up on my Facebook page in my reader group. And you would have thought I was giving away gold bars. I loved it. It just warmed my heart that they got so excited that they might win the Island Girl stuff. It was soap and a little box with candles and things in a little bag. And I love that so much. That was so much fun. So there's some things like that you can do that people get excited about, and it's a good time for them. It's fun, and it really helps them connect with you as an author, so that they want to read not only that one book that you have out there, but they want your next one. And Jacalyn, this is important for you. They want the next one, and they read that one, and they want the next one. And so you're always tying it together. And at the end of every book that you write, of course, you're inviting them to go to the next one, even if it isn't done yet. They're saying, here's where you can go to get my newsletter, or here's where you can go to get all the updates when the new book comes out, or here's a piece of it. And so here's how you can pre-order. So you're always inviting them at the end of everything that you write to go to the next thing that you have written or you're planning on writing. But then, of course, you have to write it. You have to get it done.
Brilliant. Thank you, Linda. You mentioned in the beginning of our interview that you have characters who have attributes of yours. And I was wondering if we could have a little peek behind the curtain and understand what are some of those characteristics that you've written about yourself into other characters.
The reality is, when I was a young woman, I was so stupid in some ways. Like so many young women, we're naive. I believed a lot of things that I was told. And I love writing. I always have an older character. I love pairing a young woman with an older woman somehow. That happens. And I love that the young woman learns and grows and develops. But I have an awful lot of fun with her making mistakes, doing the wrong things, doing some of the things that I did when I was younger, especially just believing whatever I was told and falling for things. So that's one of the things that I do.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Thanks for being transparent. So what's next for you, Linda?
I am, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. I am writing a set of novels, a series called The Burly Q Girls. I had a dear, dear, dear friend. Her name was Lottie, and she died last year of COVID at age 89. Lottie was an exotic dancer in her young years when she was a young woman. She was very famous. She was known as Lottie the Body. And she and I talked many times about me writing her story as a novel. And that didn't happen before she died, and I'm doing it now. And I'm having so much fun because she had so many experiences, met amazing people, and she was such a fun person. I'm just having a blast writing this book, The Burly Q Girls.
Ah, that's beautiful. Congratulations. When do you think you'll be finished?
I'm launching it January 1st, so I've got to get in there.
Well, that sounds very exciting. We'll have to have you back and have you read for us from that. That'd be wonderful.
I'd love to.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here. We're actually at the end of our show. It's been a pleasure having you. I'm going to spotlight you. Please just share with our audience the best way for people to get in touch with you. People on the radio can't see the banner. And also, who should reach out to you?
Oh, anyone who likes to read. I love to talk to readers, other writers as well. Anybody. I'm pretty easy to get along with. www.lindahughes.com. And if you go onto Amazon and look for Linda Hughes, that's Hughes, you will find lots of my books. The latest is Lilac Island. Thank you, Jacalyn. This has been great. You're a delight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's such a pleasure meeting you. You're a sweetheart, and we'll look forward to having you back again.
All right. I'll be here.
All right. Thank you, Linda. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Please do reach out to Linda. Her website is lindahughes.com. She's made it very easy for people to find her. You can also find her over on Amazon, and all of her books are available there. Again, Linda Hughes. We will be coming right back with our next show, which is fashion, fitness, travel, and leisure. So I hope you will join us. And also, I just want to thank those who took part of the seminar that I ran yesterday, which is The Power of Listening. We will be offering the seminar on a weekly basis, the introductory series, as well as the advanced and mastery. So you can find out more information on my website. Thank you again for being here. We'll be back shortly. Bye. Bye, Linda.